And Pam, what's your role with the conference and why are you here?
Yeah, sure. Well, first and foremost, thank you for allowing me to do it, interview here, as well as Sydney. I got connected with Sydney about maybe a little over a year ago through a meditation practice that we used to have at Farm and Table. And from there, she started introducing me to what she does. And last year, I worked with the Santo Domingo tribe on a project, an AmeriCorps project that focused on environmental stewardship and disaster recovery. It was the first of its kind, and it was my first time leading such a big group. And working directly on the reservation, it allowed me to, promote my ideas and, being in the leadership role, I wanted to introduce, mindfulness. So last year for the conference, I brought 6 members from the Santo Domingo tribe / AmeriCorps, and they presented on, traditional farming methods of what they do, and then also of what the projects that they were doing. And we just started incorporating, during my time there, we were starting to incorporate mindfulness practices and meditation within our program. And so it was a way to expose them to mindfulness, but then also, build their leadership skills, because that's what the AmeriCorps program, was about as well. So.
And I got to meet a bunch of those at the conference last year, and I got to meet them and go to the stand and talk about what they're doing. There's so much care and excitement about the projects that you all are doing on the Pueblo, and how this idea of mindfulness wove in, and how it's in some ways very similar to some of the traditional practices, and also some new language, and applying it in a work context was a dialogue I really enjoyed talking to the young people about. They had a lot to say about that.
Right. So yeah, they really enjoyed it. At first it was a bit, for them, it was new. Some of them never heard mindfulness, and I still feel like I'm practicing, but it was nice to introduce them to, a lot of them came from hard situations too. So, having them have a space, to be free and talk about, what's going on in their lives, or even to take a pause with all the chaos that's going on, it was really helpful for them. And it just allowed like a sacred space, and then promoting it and having them. I really believe I've been working off and on with my career with youth and Native American youth, and I believe it's really important to empower. And I feel, this could be a way, mindfulness and leadership could be a way to empower youth.
Nice. So there's something different about the Leaders in Mindfulness Conference. As somebody who used to work for Wisdom 2.0 and knows about national gatherings of mindfulness, just kind of watching the mindfulness movement go from, I started in this field in 1989 professionally to where it is now. There's been a lot of movement. And one of the things about this conference is this focus on the community. And we all know, because we live here, but maybe somebody who's watching this isn't as familiar about like who lives in New Mexico and why is this particular mindfulness conference different?
Yeah, I think, part of this is, I don't know, and I don't have data to support this, but my guess is that per capita, there are probably more practitioners of mindfulness and healers and wisdom related professions and traditions than any other state in the country. And so the idea is that we in New Mexico, we have a lot to offer each other. And the theme this year is sustainable mindfulness beyond the obvious. And part of the way that we sustain a mindful practice is through community and making certain that that happens. And so helping each other and supporting each other is really important. And so that's one of the really core principles of the conference, is that the majority of the catalysts be New Mexicans and residents here in New Mexico to offer what they have. And so there are so many different ways that mindfulness is practiced. And so this is one of the things that we want to point out, particularly this year, we have a lieutenant colonel in the U.S. Air Force who is going to be a part of the conference. She is a human performance and mindfulness consultant to the U.S. Air Force and is based at Kirtland Air Force Base. So she's in New Mexico. That's amazing. We have someone like Tyann who is here, who has an enormous personal practice and is weaving it throughout her community here as she does different work in different parts of her community. And so the idea is to really bring attention as much as possible to what New Mexicans are doing and around mindfulness and the different siblings, whether it's kindness, generosity, compassion, and those kinds of things. So that's really important. Who in New Mexico is doing what around mindfulness? And that definition of mindfulness can be very different and not necessarily a particular John Kabat-Zinn or Sidney Lamb definition. It's really a way that each individual may interpret what that word mindfulness means to them.